So when we talk about clinical research, okay, it is nothing but a research being done at the in the hospital setup, okay, related to any healthcare objects, okay. Could be information for the healthcare, could be, new discoveries of the medicines, new discoveries of the devices, medical devices, right? So they define clinical research as a branch of healthcare science that determines the safety and effectiveness of medications, okay. These could be medications or the treatment, the medical devices, the medical diagnostic products, the treatment regimens intended for human use, okay. So these may be used for prevention, treatment, diagnosis, or for relieving symptoms of a disease. Okay, so what we mean by the clinical research, it's in a very layman language, it's nothing but research being done, an investigation being done on the facts or new molecules of the treatment, okay, or the facts that were already available, and we want to gather new new branch of the facts which could have more which could have more benefits towards the fact that is already existing in the healthcare industry, right? So it's nothing but the investigation being done to get more information for the benefits of the society in terms of healthcare, right? So one specific type of medical research study is called a clinical trial. So any kind of it's among the clinical research, okay, the clinical research is a very vast topic. It's a big umbrella. Under that big umbrella, one specific type of medical research industry, medical research study, okay, that is termed as the clinical trial. It is also called as clinical research study. Okay, without clinical research studies, we know that advances in the healthcare and medical treatments wouldn't have been possible so far. So that's what I was talking about, the evolution ever since we were primitive Homo sapiens. It's only because of the research that were done in the history that we were able to evolve in the science, arts, culture, and every aspect of the every aspect of our living. Moving on to the team that are involved in the process of clinical research, the most important, or the core is our patients, okay, for whom we are going to investigate either new molecules of the treatment, or we are going to investigate new uh, ways of administering the already existing treatment, new indications that for the treatment that are already existing in the market, okay. So these indications could be rare diseases that have come up recently, and nobody had any clue that they have any kind of treatment or preventive medications for those kind of rare diseases. So it's like patients are always at the core of our clinical research industry. Every task, every activity that we are performing in our clinical research, that has to be performed by keeping our patients at the core, okay. And the most important person who would be conducting the clinical research at hospital are doctors. Okay, so those doctors are termed as principal investigators. Why? Because they are the most important person who is involved in the investigations being carried out for the healthcare benefit. Okay, so along with the doctors, hospital staffs and nurses are also involved in the process of clinical research. The pharmaceutical companies, okay, or the funders, basically these could be non-governmental organization, or these could be the private companies. So these pharmaceutical companies are the main funders, okay. They provide the funds for conducting the clinical research. So if it is like the research is being done at the global level for a very a very important indication, okay. So these funders are going to spend billions of dollars for one particular clinical trial or one particular clinical research study. So they are another important aspect another important member during the entire process of the clinical research. Without them funding the research, without them funding the activity, these couldn't be carried out. Next comes the contract research organizations that take the contract from the sponsors such as pharmaceutical companies or the NGOs to proceed with the clinical research activities. These could be the full service from generating blueprint, that is the protocol, okay. These and extending till generation of the case study report or the medical writing publications, okay, and submissions of the data to the regulatory bodies for approval of the medicines. So I'll be talking more about the entire process in our in the slides coming up. Okay, just giving you a brief that how these members are acting in the process of clinical research. So then comes the clinical research managers or the project managers who would be overseeing the activities of the subordinates like the site management team, okay, or the data management team or the statistical team. So these clinical research managers or the study managers would be keeping a track of every activity belonging to the every department of the clinical trial. Then comes the regulatory bodies and the ethical committee. Without them approving for the drug to move ahead with the next phase or moving ahead, without their approval for the drug to go into the market, the drug or the treatment or the investigational product can never come into the market. So these also becomes the very important part of the entire process of the clinical research. We have a huge history behind how these regulatory bodies and ethical committees came into picture of the clinical research and why they are so important. And once we start our regular classes, we'll be discussing more about the history of these history and the significance of these regulatory bodies and ethical committee. These accredited laboratories and laboratory research scientists are also, they are the important aspect or the important members of the process of the clinical research. Without them being, being into the picture, without these lab, without these approved lab, okay, the samples which are being collected at the sites from those patients on whom the trials are being, investigated upon, they they cannot come into fruition. Okay, so and the data managers or the data associates becomes one another important member of the process of clinical research, because it only zeroes down, or it only narrows down to one point, that we have a proof to submit to the regulatory bodies that such and such clinical trial was conducted and such result was determined for that particular investigational product to come into the market. Okay, so the data managers or data associates becomes they are really important part of the clinical research, because they are working on getting those clinical trial data. uh, that's the entire process of gathering, generating reports and everything, and cleaning the data they get from the hospital. Okay, so they make it they make it suitable for submissions at the end. Okay, the statisticians and statistical programmers, they analyze those data collected from the sites and hospitals to make them into universally accepted standards for regulatory submissions. Okay, and the medical writers who are involved in writing or developing the case study reports and the medical publications for that will help in marketing of those investigational product once they get approved after the clinical trial. So we were talking about the investigational product and clinical research. Can anybody tell me what do they mean by investigational product? So investigational product is the product. Okay, could be medicines, could be treatment. Okay, could be the devices, could be the the diagnostic procedures or the devices which we are investigating upon, which we are researching upon for getting more information for the benefit of the society, right? So in which way we can use them differently from what they had already been used so far, like that as well. So by definition, an investigational product refers to a any kind of therapeutic drug or biological. The therapeutic could be a preventative medical preventative medicine as well, which is nothing but the vaccines, the medical devices, the diagnostic or palliative agent being investigated for its dosage, administration, safety, and efficacy. An investigational product may be an unlicensed product or the licensed product when used or assembled differently from the approved form, or when used for an unapproved indication, or when used to gain further information about an approved use. So that's what I was talking about. We are again we are researching, okay, we are investigating upon some kind of entity, okay, for its a new use, if it is already been approved to be in the market for something which we know that it is being used for. The most common example is the the paracetamol medicine. Okay, the paracetamol tablets, we know that it has been investigated long back, decades back, to be used for fever as well as body ache. We know the exact use of it. But if someone, okay, if some research scientist, or if some pharmaceutical company come up with a solution, come up with a an idea that such and such molecule could be utilized or could be used for a new indication, paracetamol could be used for a new indication, then again, if some clinical trial is happening for that paracetamol for paracetamol treatment, that is clinical trial for that paracetamol, which is already there in the market, it has been licensed, it has been approved. But when we are investigating into a new indication, an unapproved indication, that will also be called as in that case, paracetamol is again called as investigational product. Okay, any question on this one? Are you clear what is investigational product?
Ma'am, once more.
Okay. What did you not understand on investigational product? Do you understand by an entity which is being investigated upon, right? A research is being done on that particular entity, whether it be the therapeutic, okay, or vaccination or medical devices or diagnostic, right? So that kind of experiment, that kind of investigation is being done on that particular product. That product is known as the investigational product. Okay. But again, we have some kind of exceptions. If something has already been approved, if some entity has already been investigated upon in the past for their the administration, the dosage, okay, on what kind of indication that they would be prescribed, okay, if that has already been done and we have the proof, and already the regulatory bodies have given the approval for them to come into the market, again, if some kind of research team comes up with an idea that that particular entity could also be used, could also be prescribed for an unapproved indication for a new rare disease, okay, and they have seen the evidence in some kind of lab reports, okay, so in that case, if some clinical trial is being conducted, that approved entity will again be called as investigational product for that particular clinical trial. Is it clear now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So when we talk about the research or the investigation, it is divided into two parts. One is preclinical or non-clinical. Another is clinical. Clear? So when we talk about preclinical or non-clinical aspect of the research or investigation, what do you mean by that? It is very clear from the word itself, from the term itself, that it is It is not
The
related to the
stage where it
clinical.
is clinical side, yes.
Yeah, so the term is clearly indicating that it is kind of an investigation or research not being conducted at the clinical setup, at the hospital setup. So clinical, what do we mean by clinical? At the hospital setup, it is preclinical. So the research that if we talk about some kind of a new molecule for for treatment of such and such indication, okay, that new molecule should go through these two aspects of the research or the investigation. But first comes the preclinical. The word suggests that it is before the clinical phase. Okay, so this preclinical or non-clinical aspect of the research or investigation is nothing but the investigation carried out in the lab setup in vitro, okay, or in animals. Then the second aspect of the research or investigation is clinical research. Okay, clear? So the clinical research is nothing but the research or the investigation being carried out at the hospital setup. Clinical means clinic, right, at the hospital or clinic or small clinic, or which is nothing but the investigation or research being carried out on human beings instead of some animals or in vitro, right? So again, to clarify preclinical studies, in this slide we are just giving it in more detail that before pharmaceutical companies start any kind of clinical trials on any new molecule or already existing molecule for new indication, they conduct extensive preclinical studies. So these would be all the preclinical studies would be research being carried out in the lab setup in vitro, okay, in animals, could be rodents or could be monkeys, okay. So they just gather all the information which would be beneficial for getting into a conclusion that such and such clinical trial on such and such new molecule could be carried out in human being as well. So in these preclinical studies, they are determining mostly the safety of that new molecule or that new entity to be investigated upon human beings. Okay, so these preclinical studies involve in vitro, that is test tube or cell culture, and animal experiments using wide ranging doses of investigational product. Okay, these investigational product we have already discussed could be medicine, could be vaccine, could be diagnostic or palliative agents, okay, to obtain the preliminary efficacy. Okay, efficacy is nothing but how effective those new molecule would be on these animals, or how effectively they are demonstrating their actions in a cell culture in vitro. Okay, the toxicity is nothing but any kind of side effects. Okay, when certain molecule, when certain chemical entity goes into the blood, okay, it obviously going to interact with other molecules, okay, other chemical entities which are already present in our blood circulation or in animals blood circulation. Okay, so by toxicity, it means that some kind of side effects, okay, harmful side effects. If these new molecules are demonstrating some kind of harmful side effects when they are injected into animals, okay, apart from what action they want to demonstrate with their entire molecular structure, these toxicities would also be determined in these preclinical studies to evaluate the benefits to risk ratio when eventually the molecule is getting approved for going into the uh, uh, or administrating them into the human body in during the clinical trial phase. Okay, and the pharmacokinetic information. So these preclinical studies would mainly be focusing on the determining these safety when they determine the toxicity, and the pharmacokinetic information. Pharmacokinetic is nothing but the entire process of absorption, distribution, metabolism, and excretion of that particular foreign entity, that chemical entity, that new molecule which is being injected into the animals. Okay, so they would study this entire process of absorption, distribution, okay, metabolism, and excretion of how these molecules would be accepted by the body, accepted by any living body. Okay, so these informations would be gathered. So pharmacokinetic is nothing but it's a principle of absorption, distribution, metabolism, and excretion, right? So they have this extensive preclinical studies. There are all these research scientists in the lab would be working on determining the pharmacokinetic information of these molecules, of these investigational products that are going into the uh, a living body. Okay, could be animal, could be rodents or monkeys. They determine the pharmacokinetic, how they are getting absorbed, how they are getting distributed, how they are getting metabolized, and eventually excreted out of the living body. So once they determine the PK information or pharmacokinetic information from these animal studies, from these preclinical studies, they would be in a good position to determine or to to say that how effective and safe it would be for administering this into a human body during the clinical trial phase. Clear?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. So for every foreign entity, we need to have the rationale. We need to have, prior information of how safe they could be to go into any kind of, to go internally into the blood circulation of human beings. Okay, so these preclinical studies provide us the rationale and information on the safety and the pharmacokinetic information. Clear? But when we talk about the career in the clinical research and clinical data management, we are mostly focusing on these clinical trial aspect of the research and investigation on that new molecule or new existing molecule on new indication. Okay, so these clinical trials are divided into 4 phases before they could come into the market. Okay, they could be approved for use in the use without any kind of regulated environment, just like the trial phase. Okay, they could be prescribed by doctor to any patient that come for that particular indication. Okay, so first is phase 1. The study participants in phase 1 clinical trial is 20 to 100 healthy volunteers or people with the disease condition. So why am I saying healthy volunteers or people with the disease condition is we are not into a uniformity of having only the healthy volunteers for all phase 1 clinical trial. Okay, so in these clinical trials wherein they want to have healthy volunteers, why? Because they want to have the data on safety, how safe that particular molecule which was tested in animals during preclinical studies are going to be in the human beings. So these human beings should be healthy, because if they are unhealthy, if they are suffering from some or the other kind of disease, for example diabetes, if some patient is suffering from the diabetes and the doctor is considering him for phase 1 clinical trial for the first and foremost in first human dose. Okay, for that particular patient, of course that new molecule or new entity is, it would be anticipated that that is going to interact with the medicines that he or she is already taking for that particular disease that he or she is suffering, right? So if the trial is for some abdominal condition, okay, abdominal disease condition or some cardiovascular disease condition, and patient is already suffering from diabetes and taking medicines already for the diabetes, of course that new molecule or new entity which is being investigated upon is going to interact with the medicines that the patient is already been taking. Because we as a doctor, we as healthcare professionals, it is unethical to ask those participants who are going to participate in that phase 1 clinical trial, to ask them to stop the medication that they are already taking, because if they stop the medication, of course that patient suffering from diabetes is going to have the blood sugar level shoot up, and we don't want that, right? And then again, another reason for getting the healthy volunteers is, of course, this new molecule or new entity are going to have some kind of toxic effect, some kind of harmful side effects, okay? And we don't know about it because we only have the data for we only have the data from the preclinical studies done in the animals or in vitro, okay? So of course, when it is being administered at for the first time in human beings, they are always going to show some kind of side effects that we never came across during our preclinical studies. So we need to ensure that some maximum tolerated dose is available for that particular new molecule being investigated upon. So that maximum tolerated dose is, tested upon the healthy volunteers, so up to which dose there wouldn't be any kind of harmful side effects, there wouldn't be any kind of conflict with the health of those participants in the clinical trial. So when we talk about people with the disease condition, there are few exceptions in the phase 1 clinical trials, such as trials or investigations being done for the cancer. Okay, so in case of cancer, why we do not want to have the healthy volunteers is because the molecules or the treatment under the investigation is always, we are, as a researcher, we always anticipate some kind of harmful toxic effects, even if it is in the minimum dose, okay? So we just want to ensure that any healthy volunteers are not going to suffer unnecessarily for those kind of toxic effect. But if it is the cancer patient, of course, we know from our preclinical studies that even if some harmful effects are going to be demonstrated during phase 1 trial, they are always going to benefit from them. Okay, so then another reason for getting not getting the healthy volunteers for these cancer phase 1 clinical trials is because this is all these cancer trials are very high budget studies, and they want to include for the benefit of the patient himself, that even if it is given in the minimum dose, this is going to benefit the patient suffering from that cancer, okay? Because they have the data from they have the information gathered from the preclinical studies that somehow the benefit to risk ratio is always going to be more. So they just don't want to jeopardize the health of the healthy volunteers as well as health of the patients suffering from the cancer, okay? Then another point for phase 1 clinical trial is the length of the study, which is like a few months to several months. In some cases, it's just the 3 months or the 6 months, wherein they would just determine the pharmacokinetics. They will just determine the safety of that minimum or that maximum tolerated dose. Okay. And the purpose of the phase 1 clinical trial is to, generate the information on the safety and dosage, which kind of, how much of doses would be the maximum tolerated dose to determine the safety. And approximately 70% of the investigational products move to the next phase from phase 1, from the from the past clinical trials that we have conducted so far. There are big data, the people are researching and people are doing the, they are going back and forth from the past clinical trials, and they are gathering the data, and they are demonstrating that approximately 70% of the investigational product so far have demonstrated to be efficacious enough or to be safe enough to move to the next phase. Then comes our phase 2 clinical trials. This is a bit, advanced stage from the phase 1, wherein we have up to several hundred people with that particular indication for which investigation is being done upon. Okay, and the length of the study would be several months to 2 years maximum. The purpose is to determine the efficacy and side effects. And from the past studies, they have concluded that approximately 33% of the drugs or investigational product actually move to the next phase. Okay, this is much advanced than the phase 1. The budget is also more than the phase 1 for these phase 2 clinical trials. Okay, and the number of participants will also be more, and they would not involve the healthy volunteers in phase 2. Now they are, now that the information has been gathered for the from the phase 1 clinical trials conducted on healthy volunteers, now they are good to go to test these or to investigate the new molecule into the patient who would be suffering from that particular indication for which the drug or the investigational product is being researched upon. Okay, then comes the phase 3. So once we get the approval, once we submit all the research data to the regulatory bodies.
मैम
Yeah.
फेज 2 एक बार और रिपीट कर दीजिए.
Yeah, so this on a very high level I'm trying to explain you that because once we start our regular classes, I'll be diving deep into all the aspect of the phase 2. On a very high level, you must know that these are the 4 stages of the clinical trial, and phase 2 comes into picture once we are once we get the approval from the regulatory bodies after submitting our information from the phase 1 clinical trial. Okay, we get the approval, and we start our phase 2 among the participants who would already be suffering from the disease condition for which the new molecule or the investigational product is being researched upon. Okay, the length of the study would be slightly more than the phase 1, which is like the several months to 2 years maximum. Okay, and the purpose is, along with determining the safety from the side effects in these volunteers, they would also be determining the efficacy. So they will not limit to the maximum tolerated dose. Okay, they would try to enhance the dose to get more efficacious result. And the data from the past clinical trials have demonstrated that approximately only 33% of the investigational product moved to the next phase 3 of clinical trial. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So when talking about phase 3, we have slightly more number of participants than phase 2. This is conducted to get more data on the efficacy and monitoring of more or the adverse reactions that I have never come across during phase 1 and phase 2. So the number of participants would increase to thousands of the participants. Okay, and the length would also increase for this particular phase from 1 to 4 years, and the purpose is to determine the more information on efficacy and monitoring of adverse reactions in these a large number of volunteers. And approximately from the past data, it has been determined that 25 to 30% of the investigational product move to the next phase of the clinical trial. So once we get the approval from the regulatory bodies after phase 3, we can actually move to phase 4, which is nothing but the post marketing surveillance. The investigational product is now ready to go into the market, but it will still be in the clinical trial phase. The phase would be 4, wherein the team is still determining more information on the efficacy and safety. Okay, more so for safety, because the phase 4 trials are nothing but post marketing surveillance, and as the name suggests, it is conducted after the drug is already marketed and available to the general public. Okay, so in this case there will be more number of volunteers or the participants. Okay, and the main objective of phase 4 trial is to check the drugs performance in the real life scenarios. Okay, before phase 4 we had everything in the hospital set up and everything was very regulated, but in phase 4 what happens is the medicine or the new investigational product has gone into the market to be distributed to more number of patients. Okay, but it is still considered under clinical trial, and they are determining the drug's performance in real life scenarios, and they also are determining the long term risk and benefit of using the investigational product. And they are also discovering any kind of rare side effects that never came across during all these past preliminary phases of the clinical trial. Okay. So these clinical research study or the clinical trials will again be divided into interventional and observational, that we will talk more when we will start our regular classes. I'll just give a brief high level overview that it is divided into interventional. Interventional again is divided into randomized controlled trial, field trials, or community trials. And observational is divided into descriptive trials or analytical trials. So interventional trials involves mostly the intervention. Okay, some intervention is being done to the volunteers. Okay, the volunteers are taking some medications into their body. Okay, some new investigational product into their body, or they are taking some kind of some intervention. Then observational is nothing but the clinical researcher is observing. Okay, they are not going to give any kind of intervention to the participants, they are observing, and it could be in the form of descriptive or analytical observations. We will be, don't worry, we will be discussing more about these types of clinical trials when we will start our regular classes. So in a nutshell, the clinical trial process is, it first starts from developing the protocol. Protocol is nothing but the blueprint of the entire clinical trial, in which they will determine the design, how the clinical trials would be conducted. Okay, how many populations will be taken into consideration, how many sites. Okay, all these designs will be outlined in the protocol, and then these protocols will go to all these regulatory bodies and ethical committee for approval, because until and unless we don't get the approval from these ethical committee, a clinical trial will not be carried out. They need to determine that so and so clinical trial design is going to be safe enough for the participants. Okay, because the patients or the participants are at the core of the clinical trial. Then the next action is selection of the investigator sites. Okay, they are selecting the doctors, or they are selecting the hospital site on the basis of their qualification, on the basis of how eligible they are in terms of having appropriate environment for storage, transporting of the lab samples, appropriate storage of investigational product. Okay, and they would determine the eligibility of the investigator or the doctors in terms of their qualifications. For example, if a clinical trial is going to be for indication of cancer, and a doctor for ENT, a doctor for internal medicine is not going to be selected for that particular cancer clinical trials. Okay, then the approval process would again go through these regulatory bodies. They would determine on the ethical basis how fit these sites, how fit these hospitals and doctors are for conducting that particular clinical trial from their past performances as well. And they would determine the availability of the system for capturing of the clinical trial data. Okay, the patient recruitment and participation would follow the for setting up all these hospital, and determining the investigators who would be conducting the clinical trial. Okay, then Once the clinical trial is initiated, the data would be entered, reviewed, and they would achieve the database log. Okay, this is the core activity to be done by the data management team. Then the data moves to the statistical team, and statistical team would work on drafting or work on developing the presentation and publication of the report. Okay, medical writers are also coming into the picture during this process, and finally the data is being filed, and approval or the registration is obtained from the regulatory bodies for investigational product to come into the market and to be prescribed for the vast majority of the patients. Okay, now moving on to data, because our presentation today is mostly about to discuss the career aspect of the data management, the clinical data management. Okay, so what do you mean by data? So by definition, yeah, information, a set of information, right? So by definition, data are units of information or set of information. They could be numeric or they could be in the form of character. Okay, and they are collected through observation. Okay, the observation could be the observation that are being done at the hospital setup during the clinical trial phases is for the clinical data we are talking about. Okay, in a more technical sense, data are set of values of qualitative and quantitative variables about one or more objects. Okay, while a datum is the singular form of the data, is a single value of a single variable. Okay, so these data would be represented in the form of rows, columns. Okay, if you have seen some Excel sheet, you would be able to relate to that. Okay, so these information would be uh, represented in that form. So when we talk about clinical data, it is nothing but the data generated from the hospital during these clinical trials. Okay, so the clinical data refers to health related information that is associated with regular patient care or as part of the clinical trial program. Okay, so the best known form of clinical data is the electronic health record that we find everywhere in today's scenario. All the hospitals have gone digitized. They have every health record in the form of electronic health record. So that's the best form of clinical data. Okay, this includes general numerical information such as vital signs like heart rate, respiratory rate, temperature, or diagnostic related information like lab test result from the blood test, genetic test, or culture results. Clinical data management, it's a process. Okay, it's a very critical process in the clinical research. Okay, we had already discussed about how important the role of data managers are during our first few slides. So what they are doing is they are generating a high quality, reliable, and statistically sound data from clinical trials being conducted at the sites. Okay, so unless and until these data, these proofs are in the standard form, these proofs are reliable enough to be submitted to the regulatory bodies are not going to approve for any particular investigational product to be used for the vast population, because they are more concerned about the safety of the people, right? The field of clinical data management has come about due to demands from both the pharmaceutical industry and regulatory authorities, as the drive to fast track the development of pharmaceutical product continues to accelerate. Regulatory entities have responded by requiring quality assurance standards to be met in collecting the data used in the drug evaluation process. So the most important aspect in clinical data management process is to collect data, verify them, and help them for release, and provide the essence of the help them to release to the statistical team. Okay, so the collected data is complete. They want to assure, the clinical data management team wants to assure that the collected data is complete and accurate, so that results are correct, trial database is complete, accurate, and a true representation of what took place in the trial. Okay, the effective data management provides quality data that results in valid, reliable, and robust analysis and interpretation. The data management team provide assurance that data is being transferred from trial subjects to a database system is of high quality and integrity. Okay, just keep it in mind that data management is nothing but to have, the data integrity at the core of the clinical, at the core of entire data flow from the hospital till the desk of the regulatory bodies or the ethical committees. Okay, they also assure that the trial database is sufficiently clean to support statistical analysis and its subsequent presentation and interpretation. Okay, so now you would be, you would be thinking that what is the role of the data management. Now we know what is the definition of the data management, clinical data and clinical data management. You know that how important it is to have a clean data, how important it is to have a statistically sound data. Okay, so the statistical team wants to have that particular robust clinical data from the sites, that they can, develop the publications, they can develop the tables and listings to be submitted to the regulatory bodies. Okay, so these should be, devoid of any kind of issues. Okay, if any issues are even a very small issues could rise to, lengthening the time for investigational product to come into the market. And if it is some kind of, emergency use, some kind of emergency indication, such as the, in today's scenario it is about the COVID-19. All these pharmaceutical companies, all these contract research organizations are working so intensively about, getting some kind of vaccination out in the market, and they are getting the emergency approval. Why? Because of the urgency of the demand. Okay, the urgency of demand actually ask us to have the entire data clinical research or clinical trial process to expedite. Okay, and the clinical data management is the most important, part of that particular expedition process of the clinical trial. Okay, unless and until the data is robust, unless and until the proof to be submitted to the regulatory bodies for such emergency approval is robust enough, these molecules, these vaccinations cannot come into the market for use of the population. Okay, so now you understand how important it is, the role of the clinical data manager. Okay. Why the data management is critical, we have already discussed. Okay, it deals with the most important aspect of the clinical trial. It deals with the most important aspect of getting a proof to be submitted to the regulatory bodies. Okay, so the clinical data management provides quality data essential for reliable, reproducible, and dependable statistical analysis. The review and approval of new drugs by regulatory agencies is dependent upon a trust that clinical trial data presented, which is nothing but the proof of the clinical trial, are of sufficient integrity to ensure confidence in the results and conclusions presented by a pharmaceutical company. They are key to obtaining that trust is the adherence to quality standards and practices, as well as ensuring that all staff involved are trained and qualified to perform the activities in the clinical trial as well as data management. So we'll be discussing more about the, we'll be diving more into the clinical data management activities. So on a very high level, you must know that there are 3 phases in the clinical data management, which is nothing but study build phase, the trial execution phase, and the trial closeout phase. In the study build phase, we are preparing for the trial data to be entered into some kind of repository, right? We are developing some data collection tools. The study build phase will also be taking into consideration, how the sites are being chosen, how investigators are being chosen. But from the data management point of view, it only revolves around the clinical data management system that they are developing for collection of the data. So during trial execution, actual collection of the clinical trial data happens. It starts and it flows through all the discrepancy management, okay, execution and cleaning of the data transfers if there are any kind of external vendors are involved, during the clinical trial. We'll be talking more about these external vendors during our regular classes, okay? And the trial closeout phase is nothing but determining that a particular clinical trial data entered from the site is clean enough and is statistically robust enough to be transferred, to be utilized for further processing of getting up medical publications or generating the listings to be submitted to the regulatory bodies for approval. So our data management process is, it is just, under these three phases, which is build, execution, and closeout phase. So as I said, the data integrity should be at the core of the data management. It is present in the entire data flow. The data which is flowing from the hospital till it is sitting in on the desk of the regulatory bodies or the ethical bodies. So the principles that are governing the data integrity are ALCOA principles, okay, which is nothing but attributable, that is traceable to the originator of the data and the date the record was created. Legible, must be possible to read and understand the data. Contemporaneous means evidence must be recorded at the time the action, activity, or decision occurred. Okay, and the originality of the data should be intact. The data must be retained in the format it was initially generated or as verified as true copies. And it should be accurate. The data must be correct, truthful, complete, valid, and reliable. Unless and until the clinical trial data meets these principles of data integrity, it will not be possible for any clinical trial to cross regulatory bodies for getting the approval. The data, the proof of clinical trial should follow these integrity principles. So along with the ALCOA, we also have additional, principles to keep in mind when we work as clinical data management. It is the completeness, consistency, endurance, and availability of the clinical trial data. We will be talking more in detail about these when we will, start our regular classes on the clinical data management. So as I said, data integrity should be at the core of entire data lifecycle, okay? Starting from the creation or collection of the clinical trial data, processing it through the data management team, reviewing, reporting, and use, retention and archiving until destruction, okay? So the entire activity of clinical research and clinical data management, okay, it builds, okay, it has its it has its spinal cord in effective communication. Until and unless you are not an effective communicator, okay, you will not be able to pass through any kind of issues, discrepancies, okay, which are arising during the clinical trial. So there is no clinical trial, there is no trial as small as 1 or 2 months, small phase 1 clinical trials, okay, or it could be phase 3 clinical trials extending for 4 years, okay. No clinical trials will be devoid of any kind of issues. So if you are not an effective communicator, you will not be able to pass through those issues and get them documented or resolved. So these issues will persist, and eventually this will lead to non-approval from the regulatory bodies. So as a data manager, you should be an effective communicator with the core study group, that is the trial project manager, medical team, statistical team, global patient team. You should be an effective communicator with the monitor as well to follow up on actions or site performance issues, okay? And you should be also an effective communicator with the vendors, okay, or other third parties such as lab, ECOA, EDC, IWRS, study setup team, or programmers, okay? So these kind of effective communication will not only help you to pass through the issues, to resolve the issues, it will also help you to shine out in front of your line or business management team, okay, or senior management team, that such and such employee, such and such data management team member is so proactive in their action, in their activities, that they could be handed more responsibilities, and it could also lead to your promotion. So every growth will have its back with the effective communication. So we are almost nearing down, nearing to our, end of the presentation today. So why choose clinical research as a career is a question that I want to put in front of you. I understand that everybody of you are from the life science background. And if we see the graph, okay, if we see the graph till 2028, they say that the global clinical trial market size was estimated at 44.3 billion US dollar in 2020 and is expected to expand at a compounded annual growth rate of 5.7 percentage till 2028. So imagine, like, it is expected to reach 69.5 billion US dollar by 2028. Imagine how robust this career is going to be for you once you start your career as a clinical researcher, into any kind of department, like especially for clinical data management. If you see, you will see that there wouldn't be any setback. Okay, there wouldn't be any halt in your career growth, because the entire industry itself is not going to have any kind of halt. Okay, they have estimated that it is going to grow till 69.5 billion US dollar by 2028. And especially if we look into the the market size of India, okay, as compared to other countries entire in the global scenarios, the India has got maximum number of opportunities in the form of maximum number of FDA approved drug developmental plans. Okay, they have uh, you know uh, and almost like all of the contract research organizations or the leading pharmaceutical companies, uh, uh, renowned globally, they have their setup, they have their center in India. Okay, um, for example, if it is if it is IQVIA, okay, IQVIA is headquartered in somewhere in US, or if it is Eli Lilly company, which is a pharmaceutical company, okay, it is headquartered in the US. Okay, so they have their headquarter in the major cities of some developed countries, but they will not hesitate to have their operational center at India, because they know that they are going to have the maximum manpower, the maximum workforce, in terms of the qualification, in terms of the the experience, in terms of their eligibility. Okay, they are going to have the maximum workforce from India. Okay, so it is a very lucrative career opportunity in the current scenarios. And if you look into the job satisfaction and financial stability point of view, you are never going to get disappointed if you choose this career path. Okay, so the career growth in clinical data management, if you talk about, leave aside all other aspects of the clinical research, such as pharmacovigilance or the site management team, if you are focusing on clinical data management, you would first be hired at the entry level as a data validation associate, or data entry operator, or the designer. Okay, if you are choosing the programming aspect of the clinical data management. Okay, and then you would, with the qualification, with more experience, you would move ahead as a data manager for leading the study of any clinical trial. Okay, or you would be progress, if you are diverging towards more into programming, for people who are more interested in programming, they would be growing towards becoming a SAS programmer or statisticians. At the end, you would be you would further get promoted with your more experience you gather into the clinical data management. You would be promoted to the lead data manager, okay, senior data manager, who would be handling more than 2 or 3 clinical trials at a time, as a project manager from the data management point of view. Okay, and then eventually you would be becoming as a associate director, or the director for the clinical data management team. Okay, and if you look into the financial stability, if you look into the job satisfaction in terms of getting more remuneration, clinical data management is one of the most lucrative path, because the data management is not going to be limited only till contract research organization or the pharmaceutical companies. The pharmaceutical companies or funders nowadays are funding the even uh, the BPO or IT industries like TCS, okay, TCS or Cognizant to conduct some some kind of services for the data management. Either it could be the entire full data management activities or partial data management and statistical activities. Okay,
Okay.
so being a data manager, you would never be disappointed if you are looking for a financial stability and a job satisfaction or job stability. In the current scenario, we have many high employers to whom you could approach once you get trained into the clinical research and clinical data management. Okay, these are the pharmaceutical companies like GSK, Eli Lilly, okay, Novartis, Dr. Reddy's, okay, Sanofi Aventis. Uh, all of
Yes.
their operational plants, all of their operational setups are present in India for you to have the opportunities. Okay, apart from them, we have the contract research organizations like Quintiles. Okay, Quintiles is now IQVIA. We
Yes, ma'am.
have other contract research organizations like ICON, PRA Health Sciences, okay, Covance. These are the leading contract research organizations wherein you could be, hired at the entry level, and you could progress till till the level of the senior data manager or the associate director. Okay,
Okay.
so in a nutshell, there is no dearth of the opportunities if you are talking about the clinical research in the entire global scenario. Okay, even if you are if you are planning to move out of India, there is no dearth of opportunities for the clinical research or clinical data management in the in any country. Okay, not just about the India. And if wherever you go, if you are having a qualification and experience in clinical research and clinical data management, you would never be disappointed while hunting for a career or hunting for a job. So I just want to conclude that at the end, it is not just about the financial stability. It's not just about the job satisfaction that you are looking for. If you are, looking for a career in clinical research, you would always be bestowed with, the final, this thing, the sense of emotional stability. Okay, emotional fulfillment, because you're doing something great for, you are contributing something to the society, you are contributing something to the population, you are contributing towards the betterment of all the sufferings which are there in the global scenarios. So at the end, everybody would want to do something great that will give them the emotional fulfillment, right? Not just of the financial stability. And I would must say that clinical research is one such career path wherein you would get all of them at a go.